Now, there's a lot to go at with this, of course, but I want to know about the Wagner Group itself. We know that the leader is going to be exiled to Belarus. I don't know if he's already on his way, if that is already known. But what about the other thousands of mercenaries that were working under his watch?
Well, I think most of them will probably disappear overseas again, because one of the things the Wagner Group is notorious for is being an arm of Russian foreign policy. For example, they've got 1,000 troops in Mali. They pick up $11 million there a year, providing security and training to the Malian government. There was a worry when we went to Sudan recently, because the Wagner Group are operating there, exploiting the gold reserve. So it's wrong to say they're a private military company which is discrete from the government. They are somewhere between the Russian MOD and one of the intelligence agencies in Russia. So they've never had independence. But one of the things which has gone wrong recently is there's been no unity of command in terms of them and the Russian Ministry of Defense and forces being used in a coherent manner in Ukraine. And it was those frustrations which boiled to the top with Prigozhin. So really, he wasn't initiating a coup. He really, I think, sought to do three things. Firstly, he wants to Shoigu and Gerasimov to be sacked. The second one was that he wanted the Wagner not to have to join contracts, which they're going to do on the 1st of July, and that seems to be in train now. And the third thing he wanted to do was he wanted to sack those guys so that they could prosecute the war more effectively with new leaders. He sees a need for a mobilized state, both in terms of manpower and from the industrial base. He suggested that they need to produce, for example, 19 million artillery rounds per year. That's way above the norms of what the Russian state provide on a yearly basis.
Chip, could it be a possibility that the Wagner group is redeployed in Belarus to attack Kyiv on the southern border?
It's a possibility, but I don't think it would add anything really. So there's always been this case that because of the geography, you fix Ukrainian forces. What we mean by that is Ukraine always has to be mindful of the Belarus front. But the problem with doing that is it's always Gerasimov and Shoigu who control the plans, resources and logistics. So unless you've got the logistic support to do that, then that would probably wither on the vine and fade away quite quickly. So I don't think that's a credible option. It's something that the Ukrainians always have to take into account in their planning, that still remains an open flank just because of Belarus. It doesn't really matter if it's the Wagner Group as well or not.
And Chip, I'm sure you have more insight into President Putin's mindset and personality than I do. What will he be planning now? What might he be thinking now? He seems weakened by all of this. He may be embarrassed, humiliated. That's at least what many commentators are suggesting. What will he do now? Will he be able to ramp things up in any way? Could it be that we're more at risk of nuclear weapons? What do you think?
Well, Hitler was only in power for 12 years, and Putin's really been there for 24 years. So in terms of his ability to consolidate power, crush dissent, hack people's minds, he's a quantum leap of his own in a sense. If there were people who were plotting alongside Prigozhin, either from the security agencies, the FSB or the GRU, or some of the army, what you would expect a guy to do who wants to maintain his authoritarian presence and power is to have a night of the long knives in the same way that Hitler did, for example, in 1934. So there could be a massive purge if he believes this to be something which threatens his authority. That is a real possibility, I think. But also what's interesting is yesterday, of course, he called Prigozhin a traitor who needed to be crushed. And yet 12 hours later, he was negotiating with him and he's given him a free pass to Belarus, apparently. Now, that actually could be used in our favor of the West and Ukraine. If he's going to negotiate with Prigozhin, if you put enough pressure on him with supplying weapons to Ukraine, including air power, then he could negotiate with us there, should they be successful. Now, in terms of nuclear weapons, we're still a long way from that. So although the weapons have been sent to Belarus. In terms of imminency, there is absolutely no possibility at the moment. It is extremely low, and you would look for a number of markers were that to rise, and none of those are there at the moment. But the rout of a Russian army, which Putin is blamed for by everyone at home, would be one of those indicators that you would look for.